Hey everyone, welcome back to Glenn's Garage. On today's video, I'm going to be replacing the rear shocks in my E46 convertible here. So I've ordered two new shocks right there to go in and replace these. I'm going to start with the one that has let go, although obviously we're doing both. I do have the car jacked up here. I'm using that kind of a blocking on the other side so it sits somewhat level. So anyway, it's done there. If you're going to do a job like this, please make sure you jack the car and support it carefully and safely. I have a jack stand under there, and then I have the jack as a backup here as well. Plus I got blocking on that side. So we're going to get in and start having a look here. There is one bolt down at the bottom. I'll show you in a minute. And I believe we're going to find that there are two bolts under this soft top cover for the convertible. Now, if you've got an E46 sedan and or coupe, I believe you're going to be working in the trunk or in the boot, and you're going to be taking the side covers off to access the top of the shock absorbers. If you have a convertible like this, you should be going in the back here. So we're going to open that up, and I'm not sure the top has to be out or not to access it. So we're going to have a look, and then we'll get to loosening up the bolts and figure out what tools we need here. Okay, so I've powered the top part way out enough that it lifts this up. This is up, and then I've just let them rest on each other right now here because they are both slowly going to drop back down otherwise. So that reveals the shelf where the soft top sits, and this here should be my access to the two bolts for the top of the shock absorber or damper. So these should just pop off. Okay, yeah, there it is. There's one there, the other will be there, and there's the top of the shock absorber. So these should be 13 mil. Yep, that is a 13 mil socket that's on there. Okay. That was pretty easy. Okay, so both the nuts removed. That's what they look like. So 13 mil socket. Two of those, they're buried enough down in that access hole there that you may well want to have one of these little magnet retrievers to go in and get them. I needed it because chances are that nut's going to fall off and just disappear there, and then you can't get your finger down enough to get at it. So bit of a tip there, probably useful to have one of those standing by. So what I've done now, I should show you this. I put a scissor jack under, and I forgot to mention this, put a scissor jack under before I took those two nuts off the top there, so the whole thing didn't just drop further. So it's taking the weight of the suspension up and holding the shock back in position at the top. So we should be okay now to undo this lower bolt, or try to undo this lower bolt, and see if we can get that shock out. Okay, so this is what we're looking at under here. There's the bolt we want to take out. It threads into this suspension casting here. These are obviously BMW. My guess is original shocks that are on here, which is why they've decided to give up. And you can see all the fluid inside that was dripping out and then down here, and then this is what was dripping and leaving that lovely little puddle on the floor. First I thought the diff was starting to leak because I just pulled it out and just saw a pool of fluid, and then when I realized it was by the right rear wheel there, I thought the brake line was leaking or the CV joint had let go, but it's the shock, which is the easiest of all of them, I think. So we'll just get this. This is an 18, you need an 18 mil socket for this here. That's been in all kinds of weather, so I'm going to try taking it off with just a breaker bar. I'm not going to break out the big impact if I don't have to, so we'll see if we can get it off with just a breaker bar. Okay, we have the breaker bar on there now, and the socket. I brought out the big one. Now this is why you jack a car up safely, because I don't know how hard you're going to have to heave on this. Yeah, that's on there pretty good. Okay, here we go. All right, there we go. Okay, so I was thinking I was going to have to get the impact out, but it appears we managed to get it loose with the breaker bar. So if you don't have a big impact and you've got a breaker bar, you have a shot at it. Now, as I've said in several of my videos, bear in mind this is a West Coast car in Canada and British Columbia. We're out on the island, so it doesn't see much. Well, now it doesn't see any, but it hasn't seen much salt in its life, and that's pretty obvious by the state of things here. So that does help a lot in getting bolts off. All right, so we're working on it now just with the 1/2-inch ratchet and the 18 mil socket. It's nice and loose. Oh, and there we go. And there we go. Shock absorber out. All right, so this is the shock absorber out. These are the two nuts we took off that hold it to the body. So this is the actual shaft or rod in the shock absorber. You'll see it has a flat on it to stop it turning. There is actually a tool, like a socket-like tool you can get to go on and do that. I don't have that, so it's only 6 mils there, which means that would be a very tiny wrench, so I don't think that's going to work for me. So I'm just going to use a trusty adjustable there just to hold that until I can crack this, and then it should come off no problem. I'm trying to do this while filming, so. Okay, so that's the top. I think that's going to be all right. A bit of a clean and a lick of paint. That will be in nice shape again. All right, so got the old shock, just slipped everything else off the old shock here. I've cleaned everything up, given it a quick coat of paint where needed, and just cleaned everything up here. So we're ready to start the assembly process now. So we'll start putting it all back together on this new shock we've got here. I just got it in the vise very lightly so I don't crush anything with just this to stop any scratching on it. So we'll get her together. Okay, so I'm going to start with putting this dust boot on with this, what I believe is a bump stop. Got them together here because the bump stop seems to sit in a groove in here. So I put them together and I'm just sliding them on. And there's a little washer I stuck on the top here that was part of the whole thing. So that's that. Okay, so that's that in place. It's down to the little step there. We then have this cap that sits on there. And then we've got the top mount with the gasket, I guess you'd call it. That goes on there. And then you've got this washer, and then this new nut. Nylock nut, so it's got the nylon insert to keep it tight there. So we're just going to snug that down. Okay, so put the little wrench on the slot there. Okay, so here it is all assembled, if you will. The dust shield, the bump stop, top mount, bolts, everything. So it's all back together, it's all been cleaned up. So now we're just going to slip it in the car. Okay, so this is what I've done to start the installation. I've got the suspension jacked up still, but I've moved the jack over so I can actually rest the bottom of the shock on there too to help the alignment. So my plan is to guide it into the top mount there, just push the shock up and then rest it on the jack there, and then I can go under and start that 18mm bolt, so at least it's held in place. Okay, so let's offer this up. See where that's going. Up there. Okay, so it's basically in place. So now I'm gonna just push the bottom up here. Okay. Okay, so it's effectively in place. I just got to align it up now. All right, so this is what I've ended up doing at the bottom. I put an actual BMW jack and a block of wood up under this part of the rear suspension, so I could take the weight off, and I can use this scissor jack under the shock absorber just to help me adjust it so I'm not constantly fighting it trying to open. And I've got the bolt now finger tight in there. I should be able to put my socket on it now. Sure that's not fighting anything. Okay, so that's good for now. What we want to do is we want to actually finish snugging this up and torque it down in road level position, if you will, so the suspension loaded with the wheel on. That way you ensure that the alignment is best here between this suspension part and this part of the shock here. So we've got it snugged up good. Still some room there, so that's good. It's not tight. So we can now go up to the two top nuts. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. I'll try. I've got the 13mm socket. I put a little tape inside to hold the nut on tighter so that it hopefully doesn't drop as it goes in here. And then I'm using my magnet as an extension, if you will, so I can just get the nut started without dropping it, because once it disappears down there, you can't get at it with your fingers. So I'm going to see how this works. Bonus, that worked perfectly. All right, so that's one just started with this. We'll get the second one started and then we'll snug those up. Okay, so got my torque wrench out here. These two here are supposed to be 21 foot-pounds. Okay. There we go. Okay, so those are both snugged down to 21. Now we can put the wheel back on, lower it down, and torque the 18mm at the bottom of the shock absorber. Oh, and I'll put those two cups in. whilst I'm here. Okay. So let's pop those in and then press the center. Seems to, there we go. Seems to get them to set really nicely. All right, job done up here. All right, so I've got torque wrench out. I'm going to snug this up. 74 pounds-feet of torque, or 100 Newton meters. I'm not sure I got enough room here. I may have to take my blocking assembly and jack it up and put it under this wheel so the suspension's still got weight. But I have a little more swing with the torque wrench here. I should also mention that whilst this goes from like 20 some odd foot-pounds of torque up to 200 and something, I do not use this for the lower numbers. I found it very inaccurate. So that's why I have two. I have one for the lower settings, three actually, I guess. One for the lower settings. There we go. All right. Do believe that's job done. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, I hope the video was helpful for you. If you enjoyed it, hit a like, hit subscribe. That would be great. Be much appreciated. And I hope I see you back here soon in the garage. You take care, everybody.